And now, once again, Richard Thomas.
Your baby has been born. He's healthy and whole with 10 perfect little fingers and 10 perfect little toes. But now comes a whole new worry. Will he stay healthy? Unfortunately, children are not exempt from the ravages of disease. And I can't think of anything more frightening than to watch as your child suffers from a life-threatening illness. It's at times like these that every parent prays for a miracle. Josiah Price was born on February 26, 1993, into a family of 4 other children. But his mother, Kathy Price, knew immediately that Josiah was special.
His eyes were just full of life. Very expressive, unusually expressive. We called him Joe Smiler, just a very happy kid.
In June of 1996, the Price family moved from Florida to Beloit, Wisconsin. It was less than 4 months later when Josiah started feeling the effects of what the doctors thought at first was the flu.
Josiah, honey, what's the matter?
Josiah would vomit in the morning, and he would complain of headaches.
It's okay. You just wait a second. I'll get you something. It's okay. Hang on.
And I took him into the doctor again. By this time, Josiah had been writhing on the floor and holding the back of his head. And they said something's wrong. And they did a CAT scan, and they found that he had a brain tumor.
Josiah was transferred to the University of Wisconsin Children's Hospital in Madison.
Hi there. I'm Dr. Diane Pachetti.
Dr. Pachetti was on the team assigned to
Nice
him.
you as well. And you are Josiah. How are you today?
Josiah came to our hospital after he was diagnosed with a very large and fast-growing brain
Show me where
tumor.
your head hurts.
The life expectancy for a tumor of that type is very low unless it can be totally resected.
The delicate operation to remove the tumor was performed 3 days later. Unfortunately, the 12-hour surgery resulted in only 66% of the tumor being extracted.
And they told us that they would like us to do chemo and radiation to get the remainder. And they gave us a 40% chance of him living and surviving.
The family heard all of that and decided to put someone through something that's so difficult with a small chance of cure, what was really the quality of life that was going to be there for their child.
And so we said no, and we took him home.
Rather than subject their child to the pain and uncertainty of chemotherapy, the Prices chose to try less invasive alternative therapies. But after a few months of treatment, the results were clearly unsuccessful.
This is your son's MRI. And right here, this is the tumor.
It was found at that time that his tumor had grown back, and it was almost as large as it was initially. And they told us he had 3 months to live.
The only thing we can do is make him comfortable.
The family decided to just have him at home with the rest of them, knowing that he was going to die at some point in time.
Well, kids, your dad and I have something to talk to you about.
So we began to talk to Josiah about dying and death and what it meant and how we get to go to heaven, and it's an incredible
It's
place.
a wonderful place. We all know that.
So it was a family effort, and it was a beautiful thing.
And our little Josiah here is so special that he's going to get to go to heaven first.
Someday we'll all meet him there too, but he gets to go there first.
So that part was sad, but kind of sweet. It was truly a bittersweet experience.
Weeks later, another scan of Josiah's brain was taken. The results were not good.
And I'll never forget standing with the neurosurgeon looking at the scan, and he said,
I think you have to start thinking in terms of days or perhaps even hours. It's medically impossible for your son to live more than a week. I'm very sorry.
well, that was March. He lived March, April, May, June, and I would get calls from the university in June and July from various people, and how is he, and just amazed that he's alive. There really was no good medical reason why Josiah should be alive at that point.
But while he defied death, Josiah's condition continued to deteriorate. In August, the Price family saw a newspaper article about a local child in desperate need of a liver transplant. With Josiah so near to death, they called the hospital to see if his liver could be donated to save the little girl's
We
life.
were wondering, could Josiah donate his liver?
Initially, we were told no, that's not an option for children with cancer.
Dr. Puccetti, this is something that Randy and I really want. Isn't there something you could do?
We persisted, and because we had said no to the chemo and radiation, because Josiah had not been through that, they were willing to accept his organs.
But Josiah continued to defy the odds and clung to life, while the little girl he would have saved tragically passed away.
At that point, I was very, very upset, thinking, why did we feel like we needed to do this for her and she died?
Hello?
Soon after, the hospital
Hi, Dr.
called to see if the Prices were still willing to donate Josiah's organs.
Give me a minute. They want to know if we still want to donate.
Yes.
Yes, sure.
Yes.
As Josiah began to slip away, he was moved to a local hospital. Kathy stayed by his side and waited for the inevitable.
His breathing was very labored. His respirations were not good. He was running a fever.
Nurse, I think you better come. I think it's time.
And they said, sure enough, he was dying. So we called our family, and we called friends, and we all came to say goodbye to Josiah.
Goodbye, Josiah.
It was beautiful. We said goodbye. I kissed him.
I don't think he's there. He's gone.
Josiah was now in a coma.
It was a sad thing, but it was actually very much a relief at that time. He's not suffering. It's over.
A med flight team arrived to fly Josiah to the University Hospital in Madison, where doctors were standing by to remove his organs.
Let's intubate him before we put him on the helicopter.
When they got down there, they had to protect his airway, so they intubated him. And by the simple matter of intubating him and changing some of the pressure in his brain, he woke up.
When Kathy and Randy arrived at the hospital, they were given this shocking news.
Doctor, Kathy and Randy are here.
We have a problem.
They said, your son is responding. He's squeezing our fingers. He is not brain dead. They said, we cannot take his organs unless he's brain dead. But we can't take these tubes out because then he dies.
Josiah's parents were now faced with a horrific choice: to either discontinue life support and cause the death of their son, or let him live on a machine and prolong the inevitable. The conclusion, when It's a Miracle continues. Josiah Price was a happy child with an infectious smile when he was diagnosed with a deadly brain tumor at the age of 3. As his life slipped away, Josiah's family made the difficult decision to donate his organs. But a medical procedure woke him from his coma just minutes before his organs were to be removed, leaving his family and doctors in a terrible predicament.
He now was not comatose and now was not dying, but was awake and alert, but had a very, very large brain tumor that was going to kill him in some period of time unless something could be done.
And if he dies, we can't harvest his organs.
And I'll never forget sitting in the conference room with all the doctors who were caring for Josiah, thinking, what do we do?
Well, maybe instead of focusing on that problem, we need to start focusing on treating Josiah's tumors again.
And we had the fortune of having a very talented and very aggressive pediatric neurosurgeon, Dr. Iskandar, who had just joined our staff.
Hello. Hi, I'm Dr. Iskandar.
Kathy.
Hi, Kathy.
Dr. Iskandar reviewed Josiah's records and agreed to meet with Kathy and Randy.
Here because I just looked at Josiah's situation.
He said, I would like to treat your son as a patient instead of a donor.
And I don't want to get your hopes up, but I'd like another attempt of removing the tumor.
What?
But we had not a lot of hope because they had been telling us for 6-8 months that there's nothing that can be done.
Well, it's very likely if we go forward with this that he can die on the table. But I wouldn't be calling you up here if I didn't think there was a chance.
But if there's even the smallest chance that we have to try.
At this point, we have nothing to lose, so we said yes, of course. Josiah went through 20 hours of brain surgery. He was able to remove 75% of his tumor. And we were just ecstatic, thinking we were given a few more months because we knew there was still tumor left, but so what, we had this time, and it would be good time. And he said, I'm not happy. I really feel that if you're gonna let me give him a shot, let me give him a real shot.
See, the tumor can grow back. So I'd like to go in there and try to get the rest. There are risks involved.
Dr. Iskandar explained that even if Josiah managed to live through the operation, his cranial facial nerve could be severed.
He won't be able to smile, but that would be it. Besides that, everything else will be normal. If he survives this, it's a normal life for him.
Well, we had people praying all over this country. They had heard about him over the internet and different things, and I had asked that people would pray that Josiah would not lose his smile.
20 hours later, Kathy and Randy awaited the results of the surgery, hopeful that their prayers would be answered.
I believe we got it all. No. And no matter how many times we scraped a cranial facial nerve, it would not break.
Are you serious?
He said, I scraped it 7 times of tumor cells, and it would not break.
Thank you so much.
It's incredible.
The next morning, sure enough, he smiled. And it was just an incredible thing.
But the surgery was not without other consequences. Josiah spent the next 4 months in the hospital recovering. When he was finally released in January of 1998, he was in a wheelchair, his breathing controlled by a ventilator.
People have asked me, do you regret allowing him to go through all this? He can't walk, he can't talk, he can't eat. What is his quality of life? And it just occurred to me that what is quality of life? There's people that can walk, talk, and eat all day long, and they have no quality of life. You have a quality of life if you can love somebody and if somebody loves you. In April, he began to walk with a walker. He got stronger. And by October, November of '98, he walked, he ran, he looked like this normal child except for the trach in his neck that he needed for the ventilator. And they said he probably would be on that his whole life.
In March of 1999, Josiah participated in a routine sleep study to determine if he still needed his ventilator.
I just assumed, of course, we would still be on the vent, and that's okay. This is our life. We've been given a gift. And I'll never forget going the next morning, and our social worker, who's a very dear friend of ours, was crying. She was outside his door, and she said, Kathy, it really is a miracle. He passed. His oxygen was fine. Everything is fine. He doesn't need that ventilator.
Today, Josiah is 6 years old, and he continues to bring joy to his family.
He now is doing beautifully. And he will tell me, Mommy, remember when I was dying, but it wasn't my turn yet? And I said, yeah, Josiah, I remember.
For those who witnessed his journey from the brink of death and back, the outcome is nothing short of a miracle.
If Josiah's family had gone with the traditional treatment of chemotherapy and radiation therapy, it might not have been effective. If they hadn't agreed to have him be an organ donor, he would have died at home. But I think the biggest miracle is their belief in doing what they thought was right all along, and their hearts guided them. And when your heart guides you, you can't go wrong.
Our children are a gift, however long we have them. And preparing your child to go through horrible things can actually be a journey that you walk on with that child that can be such a precious thing. I would not trade any of this for anything. And I don't think Josiah would.
Josiah Price continues to receive regular checkups and is considered to be totally cancer-free. He's currently attending kindergarten, and with the help of his dad, he's learning to skateboard. Now that sounds like a normal 6-year-old boy to me.